Now, this is a stay or go Man United edition. We're going to be looking at every single player in the squad from this season and evaluating whether we should keep them or let them leave. Now, I've not included Martial or Varane in this list as they are already on their way out. But briefly, if they weren't and if they were a decision, I would have sold Martial and I would have kept Rafael Varane. Now let's start with Andre Onana, someone who I think has not had the best of starts to his life at Man United. And I do think that he has been a downgrade on our previous goalkeeper. But I think it is still too early to let him go, and I think that there's no point in us going through a whole process to find another goalkeeper when that goalkeeper probably will not have the mentality to cope with being a Man United goalkeeper. The only other option for us to do is probably buy back De Gea, which we're never going to do. So I would keep Andre Onana. Now we have two other goalkeepers in Tom Heaton and Bayindir. I would probably let Bayindir go out on loan to another club. I don't know if he wants to stay here. We've only seen him play for like one game. There's no point in him sitting on the bench. And if we are going to sell Bayindir, then it's probably a good idea to keep Tom Heaton just in case anything does happen to Onana. Now, moving on to the centre halves. First up, we have Victor Lindelof. And actually, contrary to a lot of other people, I would actually keep him. I think as a third choice option at centre back, he is probably one of the best that we can get out there. If we were to sell him this summer, he definitely would not be going for much. And to get a player of his quality would probably cost a lot more than it would to sell him. I think injuries have been a problem this year, but if you remember from last season, Varane was injured quite a few times and Martinez was injured towards the end. And every time this guy stepped in, he performed really, really well. I think under Ten Hag, Lindelof is a fantastic player, so I would definitely keep him as a backup option to our current centre halves. And that leads me on to the main man at centre half, Lisandro Martinez. There's no question about this one. He's obviously, hopefully, going to stay with us. He's had two major injuries this year, and hopefully he just gets lucky next year and isn't injured for so long. Now, Harry Maguire is someone who's had a much better season this year, which means that this is probably the highest his market value will be. So I think right now is probably the best time to let go of him. A lot of people in the media, because of English bias or whatever, want to keep him to stay, want to make him stay. But here's the thing: if we're selling Rafael Varane, we have to be letting this guy go. This guy, unless he's going to be a backup, which I don't think he will be, because I think simply he's just on too much money, he's just got too much of a big name, and it's probably going to cause too much of a problem. I think he's a great professional, but people just keep mentioning him in the media too many times for him to be a backup, and he's certainly not starting material for Man United. If you're going to let go of Varane, and so many people were agreeing with the fact that we were going to sell Varane, I think Maguire's around the same age as Varane. Yes, he's a lot better when it comes to injuries, but he is nowhere near, I'm saying, like, not anywhere near as close in terms of ability as Varane. So for me, he has to go. He's had a good season this year, so I think a lot of people are going to value him highly. This is our best chance to get as much money as for him as possible. Now, Johnny Evans, I would probably get him on a 1 year deal. I think the fact that he's been able to come in this season and been so reliable for us when we've had so many injuries. I don't think anyone would have been able to expect that at the start of the year. No one would have expected him to be playing as many games as he did for us this season. And me personally, I definitely underestimated his ability as a centre half. There's not been many games as to when he's played that he's been a huge liability for us. Obviously, there was that one time where he got done by Mateta against Crystal Palace. But other than that, he's been quite reliable for us. And his experience would have some use in a dressing room that is quite young. So I'd probably sign him on a 1 year deal, given how well he's done this year. You know, we're not going to make any money off him or anything like that, so you might as well keep him. Kamwala, I'd definitely keep him. You know, I think if we can really try and let him grow into a backup centre half next season, maybe as our fourth choice, that would be probably the best thing for us to do. Other than that, the only other option is a loan move. I definitely keep him because he seems like a good kid. He looks like he can play well, and unlike a lot of kids in this day and age, he looks like he has a good head on him. We're done with our centre half. Let's move on to our fullbacks. The first fullback is Diogo Dalot. For me, this is a no-brainer. He is definitely staying. I think he's probably been our best player this season. I can't believe that so many people in the media said that they wanted to see him leave. Should be our starting right back next year. I think I trust him to keep the levels next season. I don't think he will fall off. Hopefully, I haven't jinxed anything, but Under Ten Hag, he looks like he can develop well. And he's been so consistent this season. I have faith in him, and I think that he should be our starting right back next season. Now, this is another controversial one, but I would probably keep Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Now, a lot of people are saying that we should go out and buy Frimpong or someone like that. If we sign Frimpong, Frimpong is going to be looking to be our number one right back. And I personally don't want to see Dallo as a backup option. Now, in the second half of last season, we saw a much improved version of Wan-Bissaka, especially in his attacking sense. This season has definitely been a poor year for him, but there is room for development with this player. Considering the price that we could sell him at, I honestly think it's a better option to keep him as a backup to Diogo Dalot. Now, our next fullback is Luke Shaw, and I would probably keep him. This season, he has been riddled with injuries. I don't know if he could have played through them or not. There's a bit of me that thinks that he was reluctant to come into a struggling team, which I hope isn't the case. And I really do hope that he can still play as a left back. We know he's got fantastic ability all round as an all round fullback. So if he can get to full fitness and be able to play as an attacking, energetic fullback, I would definitely keep him. Tyrone Malacia, who's been injured all season, I think he's just had one long injury that's just kept being delayed or something. So you can't really judge him off this last year, but based on his first year, I would 100% keep him as well. You know, I think he's a young kid. I think that he has got potential. He's such an energetic player, such an enthusiastic player. I would definitely keep him. You know, he's good. He's very good at defending. He's very aggressive, and he can obviously do a good job in the final third as well. Now we're done with the defense. Let's now move into the midfield. And the first midfielder we have to talk about is Casemiro. I would actually keep him. As I've said in previous videos, we need someone with some sort of winning mentality. If we've already sold Varane, okay. If we now go out and decide to let go of Casemiro and sell him to Saudi or whatever, who in this team has won a league title? Obviously Johnny Evans, but no one else has won a league title. No one else has won a Champions League. This guy is the only proven winner in this team, and we want to let him go. I understand that this year he's had a massive fall off, but that has to come to the fact that in the first half of the season he was played in a rubbish midfield with like Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes, which just doesn't work. And then the second half he was playing at centre back, and he's obviously got found out because he isn't a centre back and he can't do that at this age in the Premier League. I still think that there's a fantastic player in him, and I would not be looking to sell him this fast because we need some sort of experience in this team. If you want a team full of inexperienced players, go look at Chelsea and see what's happened to them. We need winners, we need mentality, and we need experience, and this guy has it all. I understand this season was poor, but I don't think that's enough information to just let him go. Amrabat, would I keep him and extend his loan move to a permanent move? Honestly, yeah, I would. Now, he's not been great overall in this season, but towards that last part of the season, I think that if this guy was given consistent game time, he could be a fantastic player. And if him and Casemiro could rotate next to someone like Mainu, I think we could have a decent midfield partnership for next season. Given that this guy is probably about 27, 28 years old, and I'm saying if we are going to keep Mainu and play him as a starting midfielder, then we need some experience next to him, and we need some physicality, and this guy has it. And I don't think there's a massive CDM out there that we could be looking at who's a big name player who can cope with being a Man United player. And I think Casemiro and Amrabat are probably the two best options in terms of value and money and people who actually know the club all right now. So I think keeping them would probably be the best option. Because again, if we were to go out and buy a player to replace them, it would cost a lot more from our budget.